Authorities say Robert Tyler White tried to get into the school and the school resource officer's car. Police adding White also made an attempt to get the SRO's gun before being shot and killed. And just next to me, down trees just like this one across a power line, which the power hasn't been restored to homes that aren't damaged here. As for the residents on Booth Lane, they're mostly family, and they tell me they're holding each other a little tighter, seeing all this damage. Typically, when you see flashing blue lights behind you, it's not a good sign, especially as you're rushing to get to celebrations with your family. But the Ohatchee Police Department is working to change that this holiday season. Police are continuing to investigate the scene here on 33rd Street. What we do know right now is that there were 4 victims shot during this incident. Accessing these programs is as easy as dialing 211 and having proof of a positive test result within the last 5 days. This building behind me, I spoke to the owner of it. You can see that there are some windows blown out that they're patching over with some wood. Half of the roof is now on the ground, and I'm told much of what is on the inside was damaged. Superintendent Reddick tells me that the students at this school just went over school safety earlier this week. He says that they were oblivious as to what was going on in front of their school this morning, thinking it was just more practice.
It's the kind of call you don't want to get.
34 children were taking part in the summer literacy program at Walnut Park School Thursday morning when a potential intruder made his way onto school grounds.
Apparently there was a gentleman who was, came around to several doors trying to get inside the building.
He was seen by citizens who reported it. They even recognized that there's something not right.
The potential intruder confronted by the school resource officer. According to the Alabama Law Enforcement Agency, the man was trying to get into the officer's vehicle.
Apparently had a conversation with him for a few moments and tried to de-escalate the individual.
According to Aaliyah, the man then tried to grab the officer's gun.
And then he called for backup. And then when backup arrived, it continued until what we have here now.
The person shot and killed in the front yard of the school. Alan Hill lives right across from the school.
All this is right in your front door when you walk out of your house. I mean, what's it coming to?
Hill's mind went to the worst case scenario.
All these shootings across America, you know, the people getting shot, little kids everywhere, and I'm thinking, well, maybe somebody's little kid ain't even going to get to come home today. That's what hit me. I mean, my heart dropped.
Thankfully, all 34 children were safely evacuated and back in the arms of their parents within an hour of the incident.
Drilled our principals and our administrators just year long about how to avoid situations like this. And if there was ever an example of what the right thing to do is, then it was exemplified here today.
Now, the school resource officer involved in this incident, he's actually a Rainbow City police officer. He was taken to a local hospital with minor injuries after this incident. As for the person who was killed, his name is Robert Tyler White, and he is from North Carolina. Live in Gadsden, Aaron Wise, ABC 3340 News.
He started typing out, can I work here?
Some could call it a meeting of fates. 16-year-old Zahari Will wanting a job. Saucy's in Riverside in desperate need of employees.
I was back there in the kitchen doing dishes. With everything going on, you know, staff is hard to find.
Zahari's mother encouraging him to ask the manager for an interview through his communication device.
So he marched right up there like a boss.
Coming away from that conversation as Saucy's newest busboy.
We all need to feel wanted. We all need to feel equal.
Courtney Will says she's thankful for businesses like Saucy's.
I don't want him to just get done with high school and like sit at home. That's not the goal. Like, he has a place in society.
Experts say the disabled community is full of people who are willing to work.
What we need is to do a better job of marrying employers who have jobs they can't fill and people with disabilities who want to fill those jobs.
And how do you think that we can do that, fill that gap?
Well, one thing that we really need to do is invest in supports. People with disabilities sometimes do need some support in transitioning to a job. For example, to learn a job on the job.
I asked Zahari what he was looking forward to most about his job.
Making friends and helping do dishes.
This is what 113 guns look like. It's a visual example of what was taken from vehicles in Hoover last year, each representing a weapon that may now be in criminal hands.
Individuals that show up in a particular neighborhood, they walk down streets and they check door handles.
Many of those doors unlocked, 1/3 of car break-ins resulting in a stolen gun.
The guns that we're losing, they're not going to personal folks' houses and putting in these collections. The guns that we're losing are being used in other crimes.
And it's not just a Hoover problem. In Anniston, 25 guns were stolen from cars just this year. Police saying the weapons may be gone for days or even weeks before the owner realizes it and files a report.
It takes 2 weeks from us being able to pull any video that might be there, depending on how long some of these places holds a video, not to mention prints and stuff that might be pulled from inside the vehicle, because these people are inside touching stuff and handling the same stuff that the suspects might be handling.
In Calera, Police Chief David Heitch telling me the person reporting the theft in many cases doesn't remember the make, model, and serial number.
The odds of you ever getting it back are very slim, and also the odds of the thief being charged go way down because you can't prove it's stolen.
In Hoover, I asked how many of the 113 guns stolen last year were recovered.
To be perfectly honest with you, very few.
Chief Heitch added that the threat to the public is real as well as to law enforcement when stolen guns are out on the streets, telling me that in 2019, 5 of 6 officer deaths in Alabama involved a stolen gun. Live in Hoover, Aaron Wise, ABC 3340 News. That 2019 bill is now law in Alabama. You'll recall the law bans abortions from the moment a fertilized egg implants in a woman's uterus. The exception, a woman may only get an abortion if her life is in danger. That applies to some who are suicidal, but only after rigorous testing is done. Now, that motion being filed and granted, clinics have already stopped procedures.
Abortion is no longer legal in Alabama.
The West Alabama Women's Center in Tuscaloosa no longer provides abortion care. The reversal of Roe v. Wade making a 1950s law enforceable again.
We are in the process of contacting about 100 patients who all have abortion appointments next week.
The Alabama Attorney General filing a motion to remove an injunction on the Human Life Protection Act of 2019.
It makes it really the strongest abortion law in the nation. It prohibits abortion at any stage of the pregnancy.
Eric Johnston drafted the law making all forms of abortion a Class A felony for the abortion provider. The only exception, if a mother's life is in danger. Pregnancy from rape or incest not included.
We are saying in our law that an unborn child is a person within the meaning of the Constitution. How do you explain that in this situation of one conceived by rape or incest, that's not a person? That is inconsistent in the argument itself.
That injunction removed hours after the motion was filed.
We think it's a crystal clear decision for the court. The underlying basis for the injunction was the Supreme Court precedent in both Roe and Casey.
Robin Marty with the Women's Center says for their clinic, the law disproportionately impacts low-income Black women, some working multiple jobs.
The idea of them now either having to find even more time to leave the state or to travel across a number of states, or otherwise they have to simply remain pregnant and give birth to a child that they were not prepared to continue to have and did not want to continue to carry. That's what we're facing right now.
Let's talk about the possibility of premeditation. For example, could a woman in Alabama be charged with any kind of a crime if that individual were to have an abortion in another state?
Well, Pam, I asked Attorney General Steve Marshall that very question. He tells me there are no repercussions for Alabama women who have an abortion in a state where it is legal.
We need help in Branch Heights. Not just myself, but all of us need help.
Julia Lewis says the process to repair her home has been slow after a tornado touched down in the Branch Heights public housing community last week.
So far, nothing has been done but the tarp, the brown tarp and the blue tarp on the house. That's the only thing has been done.
Many homes are draped in tarps.
The porch is gone and the front part of the roof, and got water damage in the front part of the house, so we had to take the stuff out and throw that away.
William Eubanks is hoping to have an estimate on the damage to his home by next week. Today I caught up with a contractor who is examining the damage at this home.
It'll take some time because there are so many. The initial part's going to take probably 2 to 3 weeks to get the cleanup going and the building safe. And then after that, it can take several months to do the rebuild according to supplies. Alan Sloan with Crystal Clean Environmental explains many of the materials they use are in short supply. We've had quite a delay on things like roofing, windows, even wood. When something hits like this, there's of course a rush on the local area. Time is of the essence for the 109 people displaced, many spending the last week at a local hotel, but that won't be an option by Friday.
Once that's up, where are you going to live?
In Utah, Erin Wise, ABC 3340 News.
A grave is sacred.
Alethea Bernard found a temporary marker for her mother's grave in a pile with hundreds of other decorations.
There were people there looking for their children's things that they had put on their babies' graves. There were veterans' flags thrown on the ground, getting stepped on.
She and others say Rainbow Memorial Gardens did not contact them in advance.
They have our addresses, like through the plots and stuff. Maybe they could send something out like a month prior or something like that. Something that just lets us know, like, hey, we're going to go through and just kind of tidy it up a little bit.
The owner of the cemetery says the rules have been in place for years. However, communicating them with patrons hasn't always happened.
We probably haven't always given everybody a copy of them in the last, especially since the pandemic and the thing been so rushed.
Signs sit at 2 entrances of the cemetery. Scott admits they are new, but says signs have been up before. The families want clear communication in the future.
We pay a lot of money for them to be here and buried here, and we expect them to take care of it at least. And the decorations we put there, be considering, that's our loved ones.
Cemeteries are not regulated, meaning cemetery rules and regulations can change at any time. Charles Perrin, the executive director of the Board of Funeral Services, says cemeteries should give that information up front. But he encourages families to ask questions, especially about the rules and maintenance of the cemetery before making a purchase. Director Perrin tells me that planning beforehand is key to avoid quick decisions, especially about important things like where a family member is going to be buried. Live in Rainbow City, Erin Wise, ABC 3340 News.